Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest on the live radar, run for the weather warnings as we have of course got that wind warning issued for Thursday, so we are going to see a spell of particularly stormy weather for northern parts of the British Isles. Now it hasn't been updated today, which I did expect it to be updated, so it hasn't been updated, but we will still look at it. And of course, we'll go through the latest UKV, having a look at the latest from the precipitation, temperature, and wind gusts over the course of the next 5 days, as we are now into the lead up towards Christmas. Now, many of you will be wondering what the weather is going to be like over Christmas. Of course, the last week or so, we've been really battling with that question, as the models have been all over the place, really. Now, today it does look like they are finally starting to shore up on a sort of pattern we're going to see, and it's not looking particularly mild, but it's not looking particularly cold either. It's looking like it's going to be a generally west to northwesterly wind, pretty unsettled, but not absolute deluges, and it is going to be chilly, but nothing amazingly cold, probably average temperatures. Now, with that, it does actually mean that it is quite likely we will see a technical white Christmas, i.e. snow falling somewhere in the United Kingdom, likely to happen somewhere in Scotland, but for most, as I said, it's probably going to be fairly average, fairly unsettled, as I said, nothing out of the ordinary. And it is a little bit unfortunate considering what the models have been showing over the past couple of weeks, and it is pretty typical that it's not shown anything mild stormy weather that some models were showing, but it's not shown anything cold that some of the runs were showing as well. It's just come out kind of in the middle. Now, the pattern beyond that is still fairly uncertain. The uncertainty hasn't disappeared, it's just cleared up a little bit for the actual Christmas day towards Boxing Day. Beyond that, as we head towards the new year, there still is massive uncertainty, and colder patterns are still on the cards. But at this stage, again, we're just going to go through the models and see what they are showing today. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. Now, if you start on the live radar, you can see we've got this big area of rain that is now into northern Europe that has cleared much of England and Wales through this morning. Again, it's brought some really quite heavy rain in places, starting late last night for Wales, overnight and dominating most of the day further eastwards and southwards, and for many in the southeast corner, it's been raining all day, and it's going to just about clear as it starts to go pitch black. So essentially giving sort of a horrible day for most, but luckily the next few days it does look like, especially further southwards, the precipitation will ease. Further northwards, we've opened the door to more of a fresher northwesterly wind, fairly average, maybe slightly below average air mass. And this means we've got a lot of convective showers coming in, and some of these falling towards a wintry nature across Scotland. So chilly in places, but again, nothing particularly exceptional. Again, if we put on the temperatures around 4 p.m, you can see it's a pretty average day, maybe slightly above average still in the south, but further northwards trending back towards average with more blues moving in, and this is going to be the recipe really for the next 5 to 7 days in the lead up towards Christmas. If you also put on the past 24-hour precipitation, you can see that we have seen a lot of heavy rain, especially across England and Wales the last 24 hours, especially into Wales there, where we've seen widely sort of 25 to 50 millimetres. So yeah, pretty horrible conditions, but it does look like, as I said, it will be turning a bit drier in these areas, specifically over the next few days. Now, to go over the weather warnings, of course, we have got this really quite stormy period of weather through Thursday. And as I said, we've not seen the warnings updated. We haven't really heard much updates about this at all. Now, of course, the models will keep updating. They are showing slightly altering impacts from this system. So I am surprised that this has not been updated, whether it is just to move the timings, move the warning zones. It's just not been updated at all. So I suspect we will see an update tomorrow, and I still think there is the risk that this does get named simply because of the widespread nature of the very strong winds and the potential impacts we could see as we are in the days leading up towards Christmas. But I think perhaps today that we've seen no updates simply because the Met Office are waiting until slightly nearer the time to make any calls on their warnings. But if you didn't see this yesterday, we are expecting a widespread barrage of really quite strong winds through much of Thursday. Here the warnings lasting the full 24 hours of Thursday, but it most likely won't be the full 24 hours that we see the same impacts. We'll have a look at where the peak timings could be in a minute. But as I said, we could see 50 to 60 miles per hour quite widely within this warning zone, and maybe 70 to 80 miles per hour in some regions. Again, stating that it could be seen in some populated areas. It's just sort of setting it up for a potential update towards either an amber warning or even a named storm status. So we will just have to see what happens with this over the next 24 hours. But I'd be very surprised indeed if we saw no further updates to this before Thursday. But of course, keep you updated tomorrow if we do see changes to this. Now, to go through the latest UKV, you can see the rainfall clearing through this afternoon. It did actually take quite a bit longer to clear here. The UKV has pretty much gone by 2-3 p.m, but it's 4 p.m, as we saw by the live radar. It's still raining pretty heavily in the far southeast, so it has moved through slightly slower than expected. And then you can see fresher conditions coming in from the northwest, plenty of showers, some of them wintry in nature, coming in from that northwesterly wind. Through Wednesday, again, we continue to see this northwesterly wind, and we see some more persistent rain further northwards, but further southward it is drier, just with thicker cloud. That northwesterly wind remains and just keeps coming in, and it is staying fairly unsettled with lots of areas of light to moderate rainfall. That continues through Wednesday evening, and then as we head into Thursday, we see a slight change in air mass. And this is as we can see that very strong pressure gradient with those very strong wind speeds arriving for Thursday. And you can see those streaks of showers there, indicating very strong winds, lining up those convective showers into lines, all coming in from northern areas. And it is looking likely to be fairly horrible. The only good thing is it doesn't look like it's going to be a big wall of rain associated with this system. It is looking likely to be convective showers and gusty winds, very gusty winds with that. As we progress through Thursday, that rainfall will reach the southern areas, but again, it shouldn't be too severe, and those winds should die out as we head into Friday, and we continue to see showers and even some wintry showers further northwards. Now, colder air masses aren't going to be too far away over the next sort of week or so there is the risk of seeing some more persistent snow in the north at times, but it isn't expected to push further southwards than perhaps Scotland. As we head into the 23rd on Saturday, we see some more persistent rain in northern areas, and then as we start to edge into Christmas Eve, you can see it is looking fairly unsettled and fairly horrible here, with a pretty flat westerly flow. You can see the mean sea level pressure here coming in straight from the west, and if you look at the upper air temperatures, you can see we're in quite a big warm sector there come Christmas Eve, and that's just going to fuel the showers, and it's going to keep those temperatures pretty mild. But it is only a warmer sector, so overall we're probably going to be coming around average over the next sort of week or so. Now, if you look at the wind gusts as we head into Thursday, you can see through Wednesday evening they're really starting to pick up out into the North Atlantic, and it's really overnight into Thursday morning where we see these strongest winds arrive. We're going widely at 50 to 60 miles per hour, even quite far inland, and over higher ground for northern England and Scotland, looking at 70 or 80 miles per hour, and for the far north and northern Isles of Scotland, could be even seeing 80 to 90 miles per hour. And again, those sort of wind gusts would generally warrant an amber warning, perhaps even a naming of this system. The strongest winds have trended northwards, but they have got stronger as well. So yesterday we were seeing more widespread 60 to 70, even up to 75. We're seeing less of those above 70 further southwards across sort of Northern Ireland, Northern England, southern Scotland. We're seeing more 80 plus across northern Scotland. So I do think there will be an update tomorrow, perhaps as I said, an amber warning or even naming to this system. But as I said, as we head through the evening, the winds do subside, and by around 9 p.m. we're still gusty, but nowhere near as stormy as it was. So again, I suspect the yellow warning may be updated to reflect that the winds will be most dominant through the first 12 hours of Thursday. Now, if you do look at the max temperatures, just to finish off on the latest UKV, you can see it is going to turn cooler for all over the next 24 hours. Milder air is getting pushed away, and as we head into Wednesday, you can see it is going to be a little bit fresher around the 7 to 10 degree mark, but we are going to see milder air push back in from the west again through Wednesday evening, and the temperatures might not drop much below 10 or 11 degrees as we head into Thursday morning. Into Thursday, fresher air is moving in for the north, so it could be quite cold, and again that brings the risk of some winteriness, but further southwards 10 to 13 degrees. Into Friday, turning slightly cooler again, 8 to 10 degrees, but still probably slightly above average. Scotland actually pretty cold there. And then into Saturday, another milder sector pushes through, and eventually we're seeing widespread 10 to 13 degrees, proper autumnal or spring-like temperatures, nothing you'd expect in the winter. But it is a warmer sector, so likely will be swept away. And for Christmas Day into Boxing Day, we are, as I said, likely to probably be around the average mark, mid to high single digits. So if you do now have a look at the longer range, which is still extremely irritating because we are not seeing any consistency outside of the next sort of 5 or 6 days or so, you can see westerly winds coming in, and you see that extremely strong pressure gradient as we head into Thursday with this system moving into Scandinavia. And again, could be named, could even see an amber warning for these winds. As we progress beyond that, we see more of a flat westerly, and as we head into Christmas Day, we do see where that northerly wind could arrive, but the most likely scenario is for the westerlies to hold on, as we don't see any ridge getting up towards Greenland. Beyond that, we just stay fairly westerly. You can see the black thick line, which is general area of where the jet stream is, stays pretty much just over the top of us, and it means we'll see cooler and warmer sectors, and again, most likely coming out around average. Into the longer term, we do see some sort of interesting patterns into the northern hemisphere, some ridging northwards, some blocking trying to appear there up towards Scandinavia, but at this stage, nothing really coming off. So yeah, not looking like anything too major in the longer term, but still all sort of patterns are still on the cards for around that Christmas to New Year period, but at this stage, no real bias towards any specific solution. Probably, again, looking at the state of this, it's probably just going to come around average, again, with a bit of everything mixed in there. If you do have a look at the latest GM, again, northwesterly winds coming in, very strong pressure gradient as we head through Thursday into Friday, and then eventually the westerly winds just continue to move in. For Christmas Day into Boxing Day, you could see a pretty potent little northerly on the back edge of that low. Again, the -5 line might come in for a time, but it's not lasting anywhere near as long as some of the runs were showing a couple of days ago, really only lasting sort of 24 hours there. And then as we head into day 10, we're seeing lots of mixing between patterns. And again, if we look at the pressure charts, there is ridging northwards, and again, could bring the risk of something a little bit different as we head towards the new year. But at this stage, it's just hints, and it's out to day 10 where we have zero consistency and zero belief in it right at this with this pattern at the moment. And then if we finish by looking at the latest ECMWF, again, northwesterly winds moving in. Westerly flow arrives into the weekend, and for Christmas Day, we do see a bit of a northwesterly arriving there. And again, could see some slightly fresher air move in, below average for a time, for more westerly conditions move in. And right towards day 10, into the final few days of December, we're kind of where other runs have us, oscillating between colder and milder sectors, some blocking appearing to our north, but especially over Canada here, but really nothing that's going to influence us all too much at this stage. And we can see that well emphasised on the latest ensembles. We can see the rough trends as we head into Christmas Eve there, well above average into Christmas Day and Boxing Day, most likely dropping towards average or below average again, and then kind of oscillating in and around average all the way until early January. Definitely are some cold solutions there, definitely are some very mild solutions, but as I said, from the looks of it, the most likely scenario is it's just going to be up and down, a bit of a zonal sine wave, going above and below average for the foreseeable future. It is a pretty poor model performance in the last couple of weeks, as we had seen lots of hints of colder weather, and we thought at the least we'd see a bit of a cold snap, whether it was a couple of days of northerly winds or so, and in the end it looks like we're going to see virtually nothing. So pretty poor performance from the models, and again, some would argue that the models always do this, but they've got to be right at some point. It seems like they definitely do have a tendency, whenever they produce colder weather within the sort of a 7 to 10 day time frame, always do tend to cancel it more than they do with milder conditions. And again, we do try to take that into account, but it's very difficult to ignore the models when the ensemble mean is showing -5 degrees at 850 HP at sort of day 7, day 8, which is what some of these ensemble charts are showing only a couple of days ago. Again, disappointing, pretty similar to 2021, perhaps not bang on as sort of tight as 2021 was, where it got cancelled very last minute. This has kind of been a slow trend from being very cold, potentially a little bit below average, to now probably bang on around average. But again, this is another year where the models have had pretty poor performance in and around the Christmas period, where we've had really bad consistency and lots of chopping and changing. As I said though, into the new year there is the risk, continued risk of colder blocking patterns, those sort of runs that showed cold blocked patterns. They showed them for a reason, because there are other things going on, other weather patterns going on, and those could come to fruition in the next few weeks, but not looking likely in the next week to 10 days at this stage. And of course, we did put a video out on this last week, but it's looking likely to see a pretty weak polar vortex as we head into the new year, and some runs are now even showing a sudden stratospheric warming into the start of 2024, which again could really spice things up for the second half of January in towards February when it comes to blocking. But again, we'll probably have another video out on that later this week or next week, just to keep an eye on that as we head into the new year. TBC temperatures, according to the GFS ensembles, again, going to be hovering around average. Looks pretty mild to the lead up towards Christmas, but around Christmas Day and beyond, we're looking around that sort of 6 to 8 degree mark, generally, as I said, around average for the time of year, and it is looking pretty unsettled. ECMWF ensembles are actually pretty similar. Very mild for Christmas Eve, then trending colder again through Christmas Day, but actually only really getting back towards average. And then through towards the new year, generally hovering around average with cooler and milder sectors dominating. So yeah, not looking particularly wintry. Yes, technical white Christmas is looking quite possible in Scotland, where the upper air temperatures are going to be around average, which is cold enough for snow over the Highlands of Scotland, and maybe even towards moderate hills. But for most, we're not looking at a white Christmas at this stage. We're probably not even going to see any frosts or anything like that. And it is generally probably going to be pretty unsettled. And once the UKV comes into the time frame for Christmas Day, there is even the risk of seeing some quite heavy rain as well, which again we will have a look at over the coming days. So yes, not looking like it was a few days ago or even a couple of weeks ago. A lot of the models were showing the risk of generally colder patterns, but in the end it hasn't come to fruition. It has been a pretty disappointing performance, as I said, from the operational and ensemble runs here. Again, it happens. Again, the models are not perfect, and we'll just have to keep a close eye on what they sort of show over the course of the next couple of weeks. But anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you have enjoyed. If you are travelling later this week, make sure you stay safe, especially Thursday, as we are seeing those very strong gusty winds, and it is going to be really quite widespread. So do make sure you take necessary precautions if you are travelling on those days, extra time, stuff like that. But I'll see you again for another video soon.